The conference room was silent. The CEO's face went white as the email pinged at 3:17 p.m. It wasn't just any note, it was a whistleblower's internal memos revealing formula changes in infant formula, cost cuts that couldn't be explained away. By sunset, activists had the email. By midnight, social media lit up, journalists circle. But here's the twist. This email didn't land on public interest overnight. It had been written months earlier by an engineer who'd watched babies suffer from secret policy shifts. He tried to raise the alarm. Quietly. No one listened. Now the empire's foundation trembled. You might think this is a scandal that shook trust in a brand that built its empire on family kitchens and happy childhoods. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to the dusty streets of Vevey, Switzerland, in 1866, when a young pharmacist dared to dream bigger than anyone could imagine. In 1866, the air in Vevey smelled of fresh air and cheese-making. A young Henri Nestlé woke up every morning in his small apartment above the pharmacy. He ate cheese with black bread and drank hot milk, sharing it with neighbors who suffered from dysentery after boiled water was scarce. Switzerland's poor children were dying of dehydration. Felt the weight of every cough and every empty cradle. He was a pharmacist, but more than that, he was a man desperate to do something. That morning, he saw a discarded baby with diarrhea. That night, he lay awake, haunted. He spent months tinkering, heating, skimming, mixing. He enlisted 2 local mothers to test Farin lactee. He sniffed the result. Sweet, creamy, vaguely nutty. It smelled like hope. He charged 3 francs per kilo. For mothers who couldn't breastfeed or clean water, it became a lifeline. Sales soared, not just in Vevey but in Paris and Milan. Yet René was not naive. He watched families battle with cost, with availability, with trust, but tension lurked. He faced doctors who loathed him for being an outsider. He faced skeptics who called him naive or profiting off desperate mothers. He crossed the line when he patented the formula in 1867. Was that smart business, or an ominous hint of how far he'd go? He closed his eyes at night and heard crying infants. He thought he was saving them, but he was also building something far larger and far darker. Three decisions would determine everything. First, in 1905, Nestlé merged with London's Anglo-Swiss Condensed Milk Co. That day, May 5th at 2 p.m. in Lausanne, the board voted unanimously. Suddenly, Nestlé had factories in Europe, milk sources in Florida, markets in India, but with growth came frictions. Milk suppliers rebelled. Quality controls fractured. In 1914, the first internal memo warned of divergent standards. No one listened. Second, during World War II, Nestlé positioned itself as essential food for troops. Emergency rations, its brand appeared on Red Cross convoys, ration kits. Nestlé executives were men in crisp suits, delivering speeches on reliable nourishment. But behind closed doors, they diverted resources away from less profitable regions. In 1943, one factory manager wrote to Paris, "Our promise of sustenance is our edge, but not to all." That meant some communities got left behind. Third, the 1970s, refrigerated distribution networks were expensive. Nestlé doubled down on powdered coffee and Nescafé, rolling out slick marketing campaigns showing smiling kids, healthy mothers, sunlit kitchens. In 1973 alone, they launched advertisements in over 30 countries. Sales jumped 45%, but internal projections flagged an impending backlash. Dependency on processed food rises. By 1975, Nestlé dominated chocolates, coffee, bottled water. They entered Brazil at dawn on July 2, 1977, pressing machete-wielding distributors into jungle roads. By 1980, profits had tripled. And yet, in that moment of triumph, a small voice in the finance department whispered, "What happens when markets change or regulations tighten?" That ticking clock never stopped. Nestlé's staff grew from dozens to tens of thousands, scattered across continents. With that growth came miscommunications, corners cut, decisions detached. But at that time no one dared question the momentum. Nescafé was everywhere, our morning ritual. But the seeds of reckoning had been planted. It began with a package in 1985. A factory worker in Nigeria leaked a film reel. Children suffering from contaminated formula, powdered milk mixed with unclean water, sold in slums with aggressive marketing. Photos surfaced in London tabloids. A UK paper ran a front page. Nestlé kills. The company defended cleanliness protocols. Boardrooms erupted in crisis strategy meetings. A small team in Switzerland sat for 12 hours, watching footage of dehydrated infants, mothers pleading, and realized it couldn't be spun away. Internal documents released to the press revealed the cross-promotion strategies. Almost identical marketing scripts were used in Brazil, India, Ghana. The crisis became global. Interestingly, for 5 days they didn't communicate. Then came the famous ad campaign. Nestlé cares for mothers everywhere, but by then it was too late. Protests erupted outside factories in Europe. University campuses banned Nestlé products. Share price dropped 14% in 1 week. $47 million wiped out in 3 days. Executives went on national television looking staged and robotic. It only fueled the anger. But here's what most people didn't see. Inside the headquarters basement, the CEO silently raged. One junior manager spoke up at the crisis meeting. "We should take responsibility," he was shouted down. The final straw was a single memo from operations. "Unless we change marketing strategy, they'll chip away at our core business." They didn't. They doubled down. The result was dominoes, lawsuits, boycotts, ruptured supplier relationships. But beyond the money, something more fragile broke. The emotional bond consumers felt. Trust evaporated slowly across continents. In 1997, a new CEO arrived. Paul Bulkey. He was quiet but determined, the antithesis of his predecessor. He spent his first year living in villages, eating local food, sleeping in dorms, walking through contaminated water pits and crowded markets, reporting back, "We forgot humanity." He overhauled global marketing, introduced responsible marketing principles for breast milk substitutes. He pored over leaked footage, reached out to mothers. He apologized on video. Internally, the company created the Integrity Council. Quarterly reports were made public. They changed packaging labels. They halted direct distribution of formula in hospitals in developing countries. They retrained 100,000 staff on ethics. It cost billions and sparked pushback from regional heads who saw lower profit margins. There were betrayals. A high-level marketing exec leaked internal emails complaining of rigid morality. He was fired. His departure made headlines. Some saw him as a martyr, others a needed token of change. Nestlé began forming alliances with UNICEF, WHO, even the Gates Foundation. They launched educational programs for safe formula use. 12 years later, brand trust surveys in South Africa and Brazil rose again. But reconstruction isn't clean. There were pockets of resistance. Villagers in Nigeria and Pakistan still felt the wound. By 2010, Nestlé had reinvented its image. But new challenges emerged. Water rights, plastic pollution, climate concerns. They were chasing a new version of themselves. No longer just food for all, but sustainable and ethical values. The transformation was messy and incomplete. Today, Nestlé is a $300 billion behemoth. Its products are in almost every home. But the real legacy isn't about sales, it's about the power of human connection and the fragility of trust. Their journey reveals broader truths. Big brands can start with noble intentions, grow by innovation or expediency, and then crash when ethical foundations weaken. This is a story about how decisions made in boardrooms echo in slums and villages thousands of miles away. The lesson wasn't obvious until the reckoning. Intent doesn't equal impact. What's hidden in marketing scripts, internal memos, and email footnotes can unravel public trust in days. As consumers, we have power. Our clicks, purchases, boycotts, debates shape what corporations value. The story continues today, as Nestlé pledges to go green, work with farmers, address plastics. Will this be genuine transformation, or another polished public relations push? Finally, think about yourself. What do we expect from brands? Where do we draw the line between convenience and complicity? When you pick up that Nescafé or bottled water, do you know the story behind the label? In the end, Nestlé's saga isn't just a brand case study. It's a mirror of how we build, how we break, and how we might rebuild for something better. Thank you for watching Brand Anatomy. Nestlé, the empire built on milk and controversy. What are your thoughts? Is Nestlé a story of redemption or reinvention? Share your perspective in the comments below.